murder wise. Grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click, click. What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be talking about some Absolute Carnage tie-ins. Specifically, we'll be discussing Absolute Carnage Lethal Protectors number 3 by Frank Thierry and Flaviano. And we'll also be talking about Venom number 19 by Donny Cates and Iban Coelho. More specifically in this video, we'll be finding out exactly how many more allies Spider-Man and Venom can expect to have in the final battle against Carnage. And a particular symbiote is going to make us wonder even more about what's up with Dylan. And we're going to talk about all that and more right now. But first, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, BeautifulHalo.com, where right now you can get some really awesome Halloween designs. All you got to do is use the promo code in the description of this video and you can get all sorts of amazing deals. Go check it out and tell them the Blerd Without Fear sent you. Alright, so let's get into Lethal Protectors. Lethal Protectors is a very interesting comic. I really like this one. This has actually become one of my more preferred tie-in books as far as, you know, the whole Absolute Carnage tie-in business goes. I feel like Absolute Carnage really kind of, I don't really want to say the bed, but definitely didn't do anything in terms of lighting the world on fire in regards to tie-ins. And I feel like at least with Lethal Protectors, I feel like they're keeping the story at least somewhat adjacent to what's going on with the rest of Absolute Carnage as a whole. And in this one, we actually have a lot of the people who were present during Maximum Carnage teaming up to try and save Misty Knight, Firestar, Morbius, Cloak and Dagger, Iron Fist, and Deathlock, even though it's not the same Deathlock from back then, but still, it's a Deathlock nonetheless. And this book is just pure hands. Everybody in this book is throwing hands with all of the different Carnage drones, and where Carnage's hold over the drones that he has created is so potent. We know that they would do anything for him. We've seen in previous tie-ins how they would sacrifice themselves for him, but we're seeing even more now about how they are willing to face the fire, something that Carnage made Scream do during Absolute Carnage Scream number 3, but at the same time, we're seeing these drones, he is making them run through fire just to do what he wants them to do. The real meat of this story, though, lies with Misty Knight and James Jameson. Now, it's one of those things they kind of teased throughout Lethal Protectors, and even in the Deadpool book to a lesser extent, that James Jameson is not 100% on board with what Carnage is doing. He is under his thrall, but for some reason or another, he has either A, been fighting it back, or B, the programming just isn't working as well, maybe thanks to the fact that James Jameson is a freaking werewolf. But that said, at this particular point, he is preparing to do whatever it takes to prove to Demogoblin that he is the genuine article. And at the end of it all, he just won't do it. He is not able to kill Misty Knight, no matter how much he wants to, as far as the symbiote driving him wants to. James Jameson himself does not want to do it. So Shriek, who is now Demogoblin, it is up to her to handle this light work. And of course, the reason why Iron Fist got the band back together in the first place to help save Misty Knight, they finally get to pull up on Demogoblin. And I mean, it's a very interesting little bit of combat. I mean, it's a very short-lived fight, because when they pull up, of course, Man-Wolf, James Jameson, he does actually still work for Demogoblin. He still tries to attack the gang, and at the end of the day, Shriek is no match for the combined might of the Lethal Protectors. But this isn't Shriek that we're talking about here. This is Shriek, who has now become Demogoblin. And she can't be killed by things as simple as a bunch of bullets from Deathlock's guns. The thing is, Shriek still has all of her abilities from before. She still has her sonic shrieks. She still has her ability to sow discord, and she definitely still has all the abilities that Demogoblin had before her. But Morbius is able to convince Man-Wolf mid-fight that he should try to help them, that he has conflict in him, that he doesn't want to do what Carnage wants him to do. He wants to save his friend, Misty Knight, and wouldn't you know, he actually convinces him to do so. Man-Wolf goes after Demogoblin, basically ripping her to shreds, and gives Iron Fist an opportunity to get Misty Knight away from all the chaos. But instead of turning tail and running, Misty Knight does not want to leave without Jameson. Because I think some people may forget that they've actually become close since they began working together, and she refuses to leave him to die at the hands of Demogoblin. Despite this, Iron Fist isn't crazy about the idea of doing this, but Cloak, he just wants to get everyone to safety. Dagger especially, but he's willing to take everyone with him, and instead of arguing about it, he just simply teleports everyone away, Man-Wolf included, leaving Demogoblin and the rest of the Carnage drones empty-handed. And even though everyone else thinks it's a terrible idea that Misty Knight bring Jameson back complete with a Carnage symbiote spawn of his own, Misty doesn't care. She knows that she can get through to Jameson because she's seen how conflicted he's been since this all began. And she's able to talk him down in a scene that's, I guess if you are an Avengers fan, if you're a fan of the MCU, which I mean, I think most people can fit into that category, but if you are a fan of the MCU, it's one of those things that's very reminiscent of the Hulk and Black Widow from Avengers Age of Ultron. She's able to talk him down. She doesn't necessarily do the whole, oh, the sun's getting real low business, but I mean, she talks him down to the point where the symbiote completely leaves him. But anyways, they're able to go back to the Shadow organization that both Misty and Jameson work for, and they're able to get the Carnage symbiote off of him and remove his codex. And of course, this being a Shadow organization, they still, even as far back as almost, several months ago since Cult of Carnage, we still don't really know who either of them work for, and they don't even really show us the faces of the people that they work for. What we do know is that since Jameson has been given a clean bill of health, we know that he still remembers some things about his time being enthralled by Carnage. He knows everything about Carnage's plans, he knows everything about what he's going to do, he knows Carnage's endgame, and unfortunately, the other thing he knows is that Carnage is going to win. And everyone else seems kind of nonplussed by it, but Iron Fist knows that he's not going to just let Carnage run roughshod. He is actually going to go out there and do something. He fought against Carnage last time, he'll do it again. And everyone else is in agreement. Morbius, Firestar, Cloak, Dagger, Deathlock, they all want the same thing, and they are all preparing to band together as the Lethal Protectors once more and go after Carnage and help Spider-Man and Venom bring him down for good, or at least so they're going to try. Next up, we're going to talk about Venom number 19. Now, Venom number 19 is a very interesting book because it's mostly recap. And just in case, for those who may or may not be keeping up, this issue of Venom takes place before Absolute Carnage number 4. We go back to a moment that seemed to have been glossed over during the events of Absolute Carnage number 5, and that's where the Maker, who has been taken over by 4 of the Life Foundation symbiotes, was after Dylan and Little Normie Osborn when Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, and the Thing pulled up and saved them. And we kind of learn what's up with the Maker. The fight is mostly interesting. There's some gags in there, of course, because, it's Spider-Man involved, so of course there's going to be a gag. They do a fastball special, but instead of it being the Thing and Wolverine, or in the case it should be Colossus and Wolverine, in this case it's Spider-Man and Thing, and it does not work, not at all, and much to the bemusement of Wolverine and Thing. But the real meat of this story, I think, comes when Dylan and Little Normie run back into the warehouse and find Sleeper still in his containment unit. And the thing is, it's right here. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. This is the exact moment that I think a lot of us who are the readers, we've been following this, we've been kind of expecting something to go down between Dylan and Sleeper. And it's here that we get to see that moment happen, only it's not gonna go the way we think. Sleeper is prepared to bond with Dylan and together become a fighting force that can help Eddie and Venom stop Carnage once and for all. It's about to be a wrap, B, but it's not. It's not to be, because the moment that Sleeper bonds with Dylan, Sleeper is terrified. Because you gotta remember, when a symbiote bonds with a host, it learns their memories, their thoughts. It learns about their physical well-being, such as it is, everything it needs to know. And it learned something about Dylan that has literally terrified it. Sleeper has never seen anything like Dylan, and more importantly, he doesn't want to know who Dylan is. He wants to know what Dylan is. And while this store brand Fantastic Four that happens to be better than the name brand is fighting with the maker, Hawkeye, who we know was going to pull up at some point, he shows up re-equipped with more arrows, specifically of the sonic variety, and they're able to take it to the maker. But even with him there, there's still not enough. Dylan pulls up with Sleeper in this dire wolf form, and Dylan is able to command Sleeper and tell him what to do, even making Sleeper merge with the maker for a brief moment long enough to make a napalm compound just to set up Hawkeye for the alley-oop when he shoots off a flaming arrow, lighting the maker up, but not necessarily killing him. The maker does wind up getting away, which kind of lets us know that he's either going to pop back up during the events of Absolute Carnage number 5, or who knows, maybe he keeps the Life Foundation symbiotes past this, but I wouldn't expect it, just because you know how events go. The status quo is always put back in place, usually about the time that the event is over. But that said, little Normie Osborn is going to get the codex taken out of him without any pain for that matter, and Dylan is now left to his own devices with Sleeper. But the thing is, we do learn some things about what Dylan was doing with Sleeper. Sleeper tells us that basically Dylan was controlling him, making him do things, and he's telling Dylan to never do that again, never to take the agency of a living thing away because it's unethical. We also learned that during this moment, because you got to remember back in Absolute Carnage, in some of the previous issues, Absolute Carnage number 3 and 4, that Sleeper was in the form of a cat. We now know why, is because Dylan, well, he's not a dog person, so Sleeper chose to become a cat, and well, it's as simple as that. And when Eddie finally returns, this book kind of ends on a really, kind of weird note. Eddie and Dylan embracing each other, whereas Eddie, he is the father of Dylan, but Dylan doesn't know that. He's still under the impression that Eddie is his brother. But you see them embracing, and this is something like this is probably going to be, and I know a lot of people are not going to really catch this, but I think there's a reason why this ended right here at this particular moment, because it's to let us know this will likely be the last time that they get a chance to do this, because at this particular moment, we're also seeing what Sleeper is saying, that he will be at his side through all that is to come, and he will protect him as best as he can, and he will never leave his side. But just like how Spider-Man warned Eddie that he has to tell Dylan who he really is to him at some point, Sleeper is telling Eddie the same thing, that Eddie needs to know exactly what Dylan really is. Now, we don't learn in here what that is, but I think it's very safe to say that Dylan is in some way, shape, form, or fashion probably a very key piece in the whole symbiote puzzle that can probably undo everything that's been done up to this point. He is probably the linchpin, the ace of spades that could literally win this whole game. We don't really know exactly yet, but whatever it is, Dylan is able to control symbiotes. And not only that, he is able to make other symbiotes feel uncomfortable around him. I mean, granted, it's Sleeper, and Sleeper is as tame a symbiote as you can get, but still, that's something. At the end of all this, I think that this was a pretty solid week. Now, granted, yes, I didn't cover Lethal Protectors the week before because it was the only book. And once again, this week, Venom is the only actual tie-in this week, as we get ready to move into the finale of Absolute Carnage. So I just decided to lump them together. But at the end of it all, I think they did a really good job here. I actually like these tie-ins a little bit better than the ones we've seen before. These are at least actually doing something, filling in the gaps, actually pushing the narrative forward in some way. Even if it's not exactly the way I want, it's still pushing the narrative forward, and I can't deny that. Anyways, let me know what you thought about these Absolute Carnage tie-ins, Absolute Carnage, Lethal Protectors number 3, and Venom number 19. And what do you think Dylan really is? Sound off in the comments.
So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in $1, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus Ultra!